Probably do. Oh, this is Dalton.
Back to Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the walls. The chair is against the walls. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
GunWebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching GunWebsites.com.
And now you know the show's over, that we just played the outro.
Shortest show ever. All right, welcome everybody to our Daily Gun Show. We come to you live every day at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's 4 Pacific. Even if Bob and Dano won't shut up, we're still coming to you at 7 p.m. Eastern. And we run them for about an hour or 90 minutes each day. We do 3 gun-related topics, different topics throughout the week. We run it live on YouTube, and we simulcast it over at gunchannels.com, where we're watching the comments from people that are watching the show live. We occasionally take the audio for the show and post it as a podcast on iTunes, and that means we appreciate everybody who listens to the show now or in the future who leaves us feedback on those platforms. It lets us know where you are and you're out there, which is always encouraging when there's, we're showing up every day to do a show. It's nice to know where people are out there listening. Let us know, because at some point, don't just do it for our health. And we would hope that it would also get the shows recommended to more listeners, or get the shows suggested out there. So we really do appreciate the support. And yeah, you are keeping me awake. The show bores me already. We don't get enough feedback. We don't get enough thumbs, so I get bored.
Hey,
so
come over here. I'll give you a thumb.
I want none of your thumbs. So we got 4 hosts. Got Bob back today from Canada, we assume.
Yep. Got back from the lake.
That's what they do.
Got that 2/3 size thumb.
And then we got Dano jumping in from Illinois. Thumb fixated today.
Yep.
And then Snuggy's hopefully doing all right. I know he was having some issues with his 9 to 5, bumming him out. So anyway, he might or may not be on the road, or maybe he's sleeping. I don't know. Should I text him? We'll see if he wakes up and comes in to show or not. So otherwise, 3 of us are here. I'm down here in Arizona. Let's see. We are in episode 384. It's a Thursday, so we're going to be doing CCW training. And the CCW topic is training with your dog. Our gun stuff topic will be the concept of leaving gun magazines around, like at doctor's offices and things like that. And then our training topic will be, do we want to train for specific scenarios or just generalized training? Of course, we do a gun shop every day, a gun movie, gun of the day, and everything else. But before we dig into it, we usually take a break right at the beginning here to see if anything happened overnight or anything's worth talking about. Bob just got back from a lake, it sounds like.
Yeah, no, nothing. I didn't hear nothing. I was still in a semi-fish coma from eating too much fish.
A fish coma from eating too much fish.
Yeah.
I don't envy you, Bob.
Pounds and pounds of fish, it makes you tired.
Like a bear. Next, you're going to be saying that he went into a
hibernation
like a bear. Yeah. All right. Well, so no radio up there.
No.
About all the crazy stuff that happened.
No, missed it all.
Good, because I don't think anything really happened other than a bunch of distractions.
Just a couple of statues that seem to be missing.
Someone's stealing statues? I bet you it's an evil genius living in his mom's basement.
That's how you start a collection, and next thing you know, you got a museum.
All right, well, so looks like Everest is saying hunting season is so close you can taste it.
That's how you start a collection, and next thing you know, you got a museum.
Wait, hold on, what happened? Oh. So, Dano's...
Can't stop button.
So, Everest is saying hunting season's pretty close. That's true. Clover Tack had some bad news last night. Since we haven't dug into the show yet, talk about Clover Tax news. Anybody listen to Clover Tax show yesterday? Was anybody in Clover Tax show like I was?
I was not.
Did you listen to the show?
But then again, why would you ask a question if you were in the show? Because then you know who's already there.
I don't pay attention to who is in other people's shows. Do you think I keep track of that? There could be 10 people in a show.
Well, you could look to the left, look to the right, and JCC. I see there's 3 people over here and 4 people over there.
Anyway.
I think I know who's here.
Anyway. So, and I was also falling asleep yesterday. I was tired. So, it was a regular show, typical show. It was his Wednesday show, which is Next Generation, right? Talking about getting the youths into the shooting sports. Talked about, went around kind of the room and talked about when people got into shooting, you know, what was their, I don't know, beginnings of their shooting, you know, career or lifestyle or whatever. And then, I don't know, attitudes on what to teach kids as far as long guns versus rifles as their first class. And I thought it was overall a pretty decent show. Heavily talking about like 4-H, which he's part of, and maybe a little bit heavy with NRA, but otherwise, you know, nothing controversial at all. So everybody's heard about blah 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 monetization or whatever, right? So not only does his show get whatever tagged for monetization, meaning you can't make any money on the show, big deal. It's not his only motivation. He got tagged to where he can't do live shows for 90 days.
What?
Yeah, that's a whole nother level now. So obviously it happened quickly. It happened very quickly. So it would have been, you know, what, weird or ironic, I don't know what the word would be, for an actual human being to have seen it. So, you know, obviously the circumstances aren't yet clear, but that is what, you know, seems to have happened. So anyway, yeah, that sucks. And there's nothing you can do as a regular person or whatever. YouTube, you don't have much repercussion or whatever you call the word, like, you know, to deal with it. You get probably a link in the email that takes you to some automated, you know, queue or something. But he said it was inappropriate, or they called it inappropriate content, and pulled the video. So yeah, that's
what the heck was inappropriate? The mention of NRA, was that it?
No. So there's no way to know. If we knew, we would say. But yeah, I was not sure if it was somebody being a jerk or if it was an inadvertent robot who, you know, heard something he didn't like or what it was. But we're gonna keep people up to date on it, because that's more than just losing potential funding. Number one, there is no funding on live shows. Anybody who thinks there is crazy. Now, if you do a super chat, you know there is funding. Yes, they take about 17% of that, and then the rest of it goes to the content producers. So that is actual funding, and it would suck nuts if someone paid, you know, 10, 25, $2, whatever it is. It accumulates to some number for that content creator, and then to have it be flagged, and then YouTube just says, oh yeah, we're keeping all that because we can't pay you to put up inappropriate content. That part would be lame. But we're talking tiny money. We do live shows all the darn time. We don't make $10 a month on YouTube, so it's not big money we're talking here. So the money angle, I really can't see YouTube putting much effort into worrying about the money side of it. If it is a political thing, then how do we know? I suppose you'd have to determine that through whole bunches of similar situations or something.
What I think would be a worthy discussion for those that have the information, and I don't necessarily have it myself, but I've heard some things that may or may not be true, is, and this is indirectly related, but not my conversation, is the stepping system or the step system that YouTube uses in regards to, let's say robot number 1 gives you a strike, and let's say that you say, I want this reviewed by a human. Well, you know, supposedly, if a human reviews that and says, oh, you're right, it is okay, so we'll let you go back on air, but you still received your first strikes, which meaning in the future, even though you were innocent, the next step is 2, even though you were found innocent on step 1. But clarification of that system would be, I think, should be forthcoming for content providers as a bare minimum.
It has to be necessary. It has to be part of the terms of service so that you know what is what they expect to not tolerate, or whatever the way we'd say that, right? We have to know
Right,
what,
because
otherwise we can't possibly know.
for a non-lawyer to look at the terms of service and try to ferret out that information and understand it, oh, there's a step one, there's a step two, or anything like that, and is
No.
very difficult to say the least.
No, that's not true. Terms of services are pretty much plain English. There's some official logic in there, so it'll sound a little verbose because it has to be wordy to cover everything, but it's hardly boilerplate. You know, it's very big,
Okay,
like the lawyer talks.
then I'll turn the question in your direction then. Then can you explain to me what is the disciplinary system
Oh yeah,
that they
let me
use?
explain that to you. So here's how it works. First off, we have to remember that boycotting is not the answer. We can't boycott YouTube. We just have to remember what is okay to say and what is not okay to say, and just say the things that it's okay to say, and don't say the things it's not okay to say. So that's it in a nutshell. Let's not boycott YouTube, because boycotting is never the answer. And let's remember that it's
I mean, but and I understand, maybe if you don't want to have that conversation, I'm cool with that.
but there's no way to know. That's the whole point, is that they don't tell you necessarily until after something's happened, and then when something's happened, you barely got an email address to ask what happened, what's going on.
Right.
So
But
to
then-
some extent, that's dealing, with a giant machine and being the individual dealing with a giant machine. But on the other hand, it should be a pretty sophisticated machine at this point, and have, at least an FAQ to give, to send you off. Clover can't be the first person to have had this situation. And
Oh, no.
if there's more
No,
than
that-
a couple, then they should have some system in place to deal with it, right?
But it reemphasizes something that we have discussed before, which is if something as simple as child things to improve child safety, get a strike against them, or a suspension, or something like that. Because we've talked about the need for a plan B and a plan C. Just don't assume the plan A is going to be around forever.
All right, so you're right. Having alternate ways of getting information across is vital, and it's crucial. I don't think it's imminently about to fail. There's no reason to call that. And to suggest that it has something to do with retaliation against CloverTAC or the content seems it's a tough conclusion to draw based on the fact that it happened so quickly. That seems to indicate more of a glitch, more of a setting than somebody deciding, I'm going to listen to this guy's show tonight. Because Clover does at least 3 shows that I'm aware of a week. So them deciding to listen to this particular Wednesday, listening to it almost live because it happened so quickly, then deciding, making the judgment call and initiating the shutdown, that just seemed much too fast for any kind of, you kidding me? You're going to tell me that Google has people sitting around listening to shows? No. I think
No,
that
I'm
they're
not saying that at all.
or something happens, like a response to a trigger, or again, some setting that flipped a switch and took them to an extreme shutdown mode when it didn't need to, obviously. But so as far as recourse, we're just saying all this, but Clover's out there trying to type. If he wants a link, let me know. You can jump in if he wants to talk about it, because I think it's fairly important. We can spend some time talking about it.
But as providers, if we cannot clearly understand the rules of, I'm going to call it, the rules of YouTube, it makes it nearly impossible for us to comply. And that means it's only a matter of time until they say, oh, that's a Rule 4 violation. Now that's a 6-month, suspension, even though it's the first time you've ever heard of anything.
Oh yeah, and if it would have been happening to 12 people, we could go, oh, that could be the situation that happened to Clover. So we got to figure out what's going on first.
These
So
changes,
let's remember,
time-wise, are occurring at not exactly the same time, but a similar time frame as the demonetization has also occurred. I mean, this is not the first time I've heard from channels I'm subscribed to, content providers, about suddenly getting flagged, and all of a sudden there's a 30-day timeout. You're put in a timeout like you're a child.
no, number one, then you're not paying attention. That's always been a thing. And if somebody does something controversial, they get stuck in a timeout. Now, normally it's jerks and weirdos doing weird things, doing extreme things, stuff that people would consider weird, not Clover's. So either he got stuck into one of them, or somebody pushed him into one of them kind of things, or he fell into one of them kind of things, or just like anything, he inadvertently just got stuck in it. You know, things exist and they're there when we want them, right? If there was a bunch of weird, horrible stuff, then we'd want YouTube to have a thing that says, oh, no, not only are you not going to make any money, but we don't even want you putting anything out for a while till we can figure out what's going on here. So we would want YouTube to have a setting like this. Since this happened once, I'm just suggesting let's not assume or, you know, just jump to the conclusion that it's a series of events that has yet to take place. And again, we don't want to boycott YouTube. That's crucial. We don't want to think about boycotting YouTube. So I don't know. Like I say, I don't know if Clover is busy doing something. Today is Thursday, so he does have a show later. So he might just be busy doing stuff. But if he wants to jump in, he can. Otherwise, we'll just keep talking about him as if we know what's going on. I assume that the email, since I've gotten emails from YouTube before, they're pretty much, you know, your typical boilerplate, blah, blah, blah. This happened to you. It violated something maybe. And then here's a link to a website where you can read about something similar to what happened to something, right? So I'm assuming he doesn't have like a phone number where he can call one person and ask them. So, and I think that's what he said the situation was earlier today. I offered, you know, I'm just double checking to see if he wanted to link. So I offered to talk to my YouTube person, and so I'm following through with that. So that's hopefully, I don't want to get anybody's hopes up because I don't know nothing, but at least we do have one person that we know who works at Google that we can, or at YouTube, I guess, and we can talk to. But otherwise, we'll keep people up to date on it, and keep your ears out there. I don't know. The thing is, he's doing live stuff. A lot of these channels only put out regular videos, video on demand, it's called. And, you know, they would never know if something was happening with live stuff. So I guess keep your ear to the ground on the live stuff. What New Throne Clay put out there? Don't ban New Throne Clay. He's a supporter of the channel. So you can assume that based on Google's politics, if you're running any kind of a gun channel, any little infraction and you make or any that you're automatically guilty. See, I have to stop short of saying that because, again, number one, we don't want to boycott YouTube. Let's keep that clear. We don't want to boycott YouTube. But I was just talking to my YouTube person, and she talks to me every once in a while, and she knows I'm gun websites, and she knows I do gun videos. She knows I'm doing a gun show loophole tour, and she says things to me like, if you're doing your live chat about a new kind of gun. So she's actually said words like that. So, you know, it's not like she misunderstands and thinks I'm hot glue gun websites or some shit. You know, she knows that I'm doing gun stuff, and that means they're paying her to talk to me, I think. So I can't say that they're anti-gun. They're trying to help me out, and they suck at it because I'm poor. But maybe that's their strategy, and to help the shitty gun sites out so that the gun part of YouTube fails.
It just seems like, you know, a long-term, a losing proposition to work with a illogical machine-based system that has no clear level of understanding of the rules.
And machines also have no soul, Dano. That's part of the problem.
You know, and I'm okay with their house, their rules. I'm okay with that. I just think, as a provider, we ought to know what they are, and if they change them, we ought to know what they are in clear, non-lawyer speak.
Okay. Also, Mr. So upset about this thing. Do you seriously think YouTube doesn't update their terms of service occasionally? Do you go over there and look at it every time they do? Do you have your notifications set up to update you every time they update their terms of service, and definitely send out a notice by law every time they do, unless people tell them not to tell them?
You're not keeping track of those, Dano?
Those are definitely things that YouTube can't just skirt by along. They're huge. They're a huge company. They would get every day. They'd have lawsuits. They probably already have lawsuits every day based on their terms of service. I suggest that
their terms of service actually do get those notices, and I cannot decipher them because they're written by and for attorneys.
No, they're not. So you keep saying that, but that just means you haven't looked at them. They are written in a lame, verbose, accurate, way. But
Don't call me a liar.
I'm not calling you a liar. I'm saying that you haven't scrutinized those things because they're not written for lawyers. They're just written in a boring way. And it's up to us as the users of the thing. We sign in there that it's up to us, that they don't have some obligation to mind meld with us like in the Matrix to keep us up to date with their terms of service. It's up to us to go monitor it. That's all they could ever do. So you're suggesting that somehow we're at a loss because they changed the rules and they didn't tell us. And I'm just saying, I don't know how you expect a company the size of anything. I can't at Gun Channels tell everybody every time I update the terms of service. I'd have to tell 5,000 people every time I make a change. And that's not possible. I mean, you can let people know through an automated process.
Somehow, something as inefficient as our government can tell us when they change the speed limit on roads, but we can't get something as simple as, strike one is this kind of penalty, strike two is that kind of penalty, strike three, you're done.
No, again, you're suggesting that's never been updated or even mentioned, and I'm saying it's all in the terms of service. It's all spelled out. You chose not to read it, or you went through it fast and said, yes, I agree. And then every time they've updated it since then, you probably had your notifications, like pretty much all of us, set to not bother me every time you update your terms of service, because none of it ever affects us except for occasionally like this. And anyhow, so I'm not trying to justify YouTube's situation here or what they did to.
What you are being, you're being offensive.
Offensive?
I haven't done this. I haven't done that. You're making giant leaps of assumptions.
Yeah, okay, so feel free to be offended, Dano, but in real life, you didn't read through the whole terms of service and come to the conclusion that you needed a lawyer. Because seriously, that's sad. Go read the terms of service. It's not that hard. It's just a bunch of words, and it says a bunch of stuff that'll never happen and a bunch of obvious stuff. And then they capitalize some stuff that's important. But anyway, so take offense to that all you want. I'm just saying in conversation, I don't think terms of services are the kind of things that are a tax level lawyer stuff. These are just accurate words. Anyhow, who cares? It's YouTube.
Well,
and
I got nothing else to say.
Yeah. So it's all about Clover Attack anyway. And there is a strike system in place, and it is publicized. And Robbie's saying it was more than likely more than one word. It could be. And it was about kids and shooting. So I guess somehow that's can get triggered. But then seriously, it's something you can't let them lay, because how could teaching kids about guns and talking about teaching kids about guns get triggered in their system? Then that would not allow for people to talk about gun safety with kids. No, I don't read that shit. That's what I'm saying. Nobody reads that. It's only there for a reference later. Yeah, and like Clover, I'm sure he's scrutinizing it now, or whatever portions of it he needs to.
Yeah, well, I think it sucks.
Yep. All right, well, I guess we'll get into the show then, and looks like we might get a Smeggy joining us here at some point.
Well, he's here.
Hello, everybody. Sorry that I am tardy.
I expected you to be tardy.
All right, so then we're going to be talking about CCW. We're just barely getting into the show right now. So, training with your dog. Anyone do it?
I think it'd be a great idea, but my dog runs away when he hears a gun. Or
I think maybe that's part of the training, right? Is to get them used to that so they don't do that.
Yeah, but I think you kind of got to start when they're younger.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, if they're old and already set in their ways, it can be hard to break that. Not that it can't be done, but it can be
talking to 7
more challenging.
Right. So he's you know, by the time you had him trained, he would be dying anyway. So there's no point. I'll just get a dog that's younger and take him shooting with me until he goes deaf, and then it doesn't bother him.
Is Dog Body around? Because he trains dogs or whatever, doesn't he?
Well, I know people who train them for duck hunting and stuff, and those dogs are, you know, they're perfect. Guns don't even make them flinch. It makes them excited. They're like, oh, 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 where is it? Where is it?
Yeah. Well, I just mentioned him. I don't think he does it for like guns and stuff, but he does something with dogs.
Well, it's probably possible to train an older dog. I mean, it would be nice, but I don't have the time. I think it's kind of almost be a two-person job with a dog at his size. You know?
No. You never watched The Dog Whisperer?
Yeah, I have, and I think he's an idiot. But
So it's fake. You can't just be able to tell the dog who the boss is. And then,
The dogs are acting. They tell him to pretend to be mean at the beginning of the show. Give him an extra cookie.
It's all fake. They do it with the CGI and everything.
I don't think so. I think dogs know if they're the boss or not, and as soon as a dog knows it ain't the boss, it listens.
My dog knows he ain't the boss. He's terrified of me, but he still doesn't listen. Of course, my dog's terrified of everything because he's a big baby. I'm not shitting. There's a thunderstorm. He's trying to crawl under the couch, which is only like an inch and a half from the floor. You know, he's 140 pounds. You don't fit under the couch. But I mean,
anyways,
until he was old. So.
Other than Bob's one specific pansy dog,
I think most dogs.
I don't know where you would even like. How would you even start to do?
I take my
dog
babies, so they go to the range, and we just sit in the parking lot, and you know, there's guns going off over there, but they're over here, and that's how I get them introduced. And then at some point, we'll take them out, and I don't know. I've never had one dog, so we've always had other dogs who were there as part of the pack, and then you start shooting or something with the new puppy, it figures out that the other dogs don't care, so it's like, oh, that was loud and everything, but I don't care. So. You know what I mean? Like we've always just introduced them like that. Other dogs that already know the deal, and then the new puppy, and they're just over there playing new dog and the new puppy games. And then you start shooting, and the new puppy sometimes will go, "Oh, hey, okay, nothing's happening. Nobody's scared here." And then that's how the new puppy learns that gunshots aren't no thing. But so we take them out to the range, and then recreational shooting, and then eventually bird hunting or something. Dove hunting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the way to do it, for sure.
I never took this dog dove hunting, though. Just because I never did.
I doubt if he'd fetch anyway. If he did, you wouldn't get much more than some feathers.
I'm sure I could have teached him too, but yeah, we don't get enough of them that we ever teach. I never taught a dog to fetch a bird.
Yeah, I had dogs that would just do it naturally. But, you know, those were bird dogs. They just did it. They would do the whole point thing and everything, eh? Never being trained. It was just something they did. Instinct. They are handy, though. I've gone duck hunting with a buddy of mine, had a couple of trained retrievers. It was great, man. Shoot birds that hit the water, that dog would go out there, bring it right back to you, proud as shit. Didn't matter where the bird landed, the dog would go get it. You didn't have to go slog through the slough. Dogs were muddy as hell at the end of the day, but they were happy. That makes a dog happy. Like if he can think he's doing something, or, you know, if he is actually doing something, especially if it's something they're bred for, good God. I mean, that dog's just, he's in heaven. You might think, oh man, that's gotta be awful. You're, you know, wading through mud and water and it's cold and miserable and rainy and everything. But the dog's just like, oh great, man, I gotta go get this bird. That's my job. I'm gonna be, you know, I'm gonna do.
Oh yeah, they get to, you know, make you happy.
Yeah, and they're doing something that their instincts are telling them to do.
But again, that is still kind of like, I guess we're still kind of talking like hunting dogs or whatever. But what about, since this was like CCW?
Well, I guess it'd be
So is that something more just, get training with your dog just so they're not rid of the guns and, okay, they'll kind of stick around? Or is it actually using your dog to kind of help you out with that too and attacking the bad guy? 'Cause that's a lot more, that's like a very specific type of training.
yeah.
That,
I think the biggest thing would be, especially with this for concealed carry and stuff like that, is if you've got your big dog with you. Well, what if you do have one like mine that hears gunshot and takes off the other way? Well, you've got him on a leash, so now he's pulled you out of cover, and he's heading the other way, and you're dragging behind him. He's making lots of noise, and of course, it just draws all the eyes to you. Bad. That would be bad. Right?
Yeah, seriously. And then what if you didn't even have any intention of being in that altercation? You just wanted to stay the hell behind that concrete bunker or whatever. And your dog decides, oh, I got to get out of here because I don't know what's going on. And it either you have to decide to let your dog cut it free, or your kid's holding on to it, or it's tied on to something that, it drags out, or, that's a no-win. So you want to make sure your dog can handle. And then what if it's not a gunshot? What if it's just a car accident, or something falls from a height, or something makes that kind of noise, car backfire, and then you're just walking down the street? Do you want your dog to be so skittish and reactionary that you're going to be in danger every time there's a loud noise?
Yep. At the very least, the dog should be trained that when he hears that, he should start listening right away. Like, do I need to sit? Do I need to lay down? Automatically he should be looking to his master for, what do I do?
Maybe you teach your dog to like run to the car and then have like one of those. Have you seen these new minivans where you just kick the bumper and the door opens?
Yeah.
So you have one of them kind of bumpers, and the dog can go up and slam against that, and then now the door is going to open. Maybe have something as collar so that unlocks it, and then you have like a rifle bag or something, a soft rifle bag with some handles on it, and then that dog can grab that, run it back to you.
That would be excellent. Or maybe, a bag that's got your body armor and some extra magazines in it, for sure. Yeah.
Well, a second trip for that stuff.
Oh, yeah, I guess, yeah. Yeah.
Or you could do like a St. Bernard thing, except instead of having booze under there, like a 26. Some extra mags.
Yeah, that'd work too. Or, you just have your dog have a little body harness, like a little harness and vest and stuff on all the time. A lot of people put harnesses on their dogs now because they think it's, kinder to the dog and stuff. Plus, they pick the dog up by it.
Oh, it is. They control the dog. That's how you ever notice those dogs always listen.
Well, I noticed when I was out fishing at the lake, all these people had their dogs, well, especially, smaller dogs, they'd have in, life vests that had carry handles on the back of them. I thought, oh, that'd be great. As long as your dog doesn't weigh more than you. Although, if your dog's got a life jacket on, you could just hang on to your dog if you fell out of the boat. That's a good thing. Dogs can swim pretty good.
Yeah, right. You never swam with a dog before.
Yeah, I have. You just got to make sure you're behind them. Otherwise, they'll try to climb on you.
You don't want to be anywhere near a dog when they're swimming because they don't care about nothing. They love you and everything until they're in the water. Then you're just something they can claw onto.
Yeah, Newfoundland dogs will swim out and save people who are drowning.
I'm sure most dogs will try. It's just that they'll kill you in the process because they don't do their feet work in the water.
Newfoundland dog is just bred to rescue people.
Is there anything that a Canadian dog doesn't do perfect?
Yeah.
Why? Seriously?
They can't fly. I mean, you can train them, but they're never good pilots.
What a weirdo.
They get too distracted, right? A bird flies by, it's like, planes veering off. Yeah. Now a cat you can train to fly.
Oh my God. Can't train. First off, you can't train a cat to do anything. Secondly, I think we're a little bit off topic at this point.
That's what a crate's for.
I didn't do it. It was G-Website.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we're going to go on to gun stuff. So when you go to the doctor's office, leaving old magazines. Anybody do that? Does anybody go to the doctor's office?
I've done that. I think it's a great idea. I'll leave gun magazines and airplane magazines, and because there's never anything good to read in there. So usually I'll take a magazine I've read a few times, but it's still got you can reread shit, and I'll take that with me to the doctor's office. And then when I'm get called for my visit, I throw the magazine down on the pile of magazines and leave it so that there's something to read. And I've seen them stay in there for like 6 months, if not longer.
Today I had to go to the dentist, and I got a flyer for a sale that Natchez is holding, and I brought that in there, and I just tore off my address and put that in there. It's not so much that somebody's going to look at the sale items as it's something gun related that they can look at while they're sitting in there waiting for their turn. Because otherwise, it's all women's magazines
or parenting.
I never go anywhere that has magazines laying out like that in a waiting room. So I usually take my gun magazines to the local shop and leave them so that people can leave one, take one kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Although, did we blow right through our Gun Channels member of the day or what?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. But anyways, yeah, I always think it's a good idea, but like you said, I don't go to I don't go to the doctors. I'm never really sitting around in a waiting room that often. So I don't really think of it. Although I did leave one at the hotel last time I was out of town. Because, they got those, like, a lot of times they'll have, like, magazines like what to do in the area or good housekeeping or some crap. And then I just tucked in the NRA American Rifleman. I tucked it right in the middle and made it all line up nice so that, like, hopefully housekeeping wouldn't be like, oh, this dude left something here, I'm going to throw it away. It's just in the stack. So
nice, Maggie.
Barber shops are usually a little bit better, but you never get bored. Like if you're waiting in line for some sort of service or something, could be the mechanic's office, not office, but shop.
Office waiting room, yeah. And they'll use nothing but car magazines in there.
And they wouldn't care. And you could leave them at a gun one's there and they'd dig it probably.
Oh, yeah.
Tire place. I guess I've seen magazines at tire places.
Yeah, that's a good place to actually leave them. Well, look at that one junkyard we went to, G-Webs, to get your axle. Like they had magazines on the table.
That's true. They're slow as hell, so they need people around.
Oh, she's in the one I went. Oh, never mind. That's another subject. But yeah, I think that's a hell of a good idea, and I think we should all be practicing it because again, what we're always talking about how let's make guns just more common to people. So what could be more in a sense kind of subversive, but at the same time you're not doing anything wrong. You're taking a gun magazine that you've read enough times so you don't care, and you're slipping it in where there's usually a bunch of baby magazines. Like we're all saying, there's a bunch of boring magazines. So
it's like
goes in there. He's not going to
find Appleseed with ideas for kids. Moms aren't paying attention to what the kids are looking at, and all of a sudden they get to sneak in some gun porn.
Yeah, and what's the mother going to do? Like say, oh, there's a gun magazine. They'll go, yeah. There's also a car magazine. There's there's how to deal with your infants. Do you think that's going to encourage your child to have a baby out of wedlock just because there's babies in the magazine? Like, come on.
Yeah, but probably nobody's going to have that conversation. Like they're just going to go, "Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry about that. How could this have happened?"
Yeah, that's true. But the thing is, if we just keep doing it, they're just going to eventually. It's going to be people seem to like it to read it. There must be a lot of people reading them because.
I would suspect there's probably doctor's offices or at least waiting rooms out there, right, where some old guy frequents it. and he drops his magazine off like that, and he's been doing it for so long, and nobody's cared that if you would ask anybody else in the waiting room, they would just assume the place provided it, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's not like it's a new concept or anything. I know people who, you know, that's one of the reasons they would get a subscription to something as opposed to just thrumming through it, so that they could pass it along.
Mm-hmm.
Like the NRA one.
Yeah, I think that's something we should actually work at encouraging. Like if you buy gun magazines, you know, when you're done with them, whether you subscribe or whether you buy them, whatever, after you've read them 3 or 4 times, you know, I mean, I generally, mine will go into the campfire or, you know, wherever, if it's like one
magazine. Bob said he burns gun magazines.
Yeah, I burn airplane magazines too. I mean, I don't keep them. I have nowhere to keep shit like that. So I haven't had a chance to pass them on, and I've got a big stack of them.
You ever heard of a child?
A doctor's office to drop them off by?
I didn't go to the doctor. I'm not sickly.
They don't have doctors in Canada. They do everything through the post office. You have to like poop in an envelope.
You have to poop in an envelope. Sometimes you have to
get a doctor to give you a prescription of something.
Well, no, you can do that on Skype. Yeah, we Skype for our prescriptions, especially those. Yeah. But yeah, you can actually just Skype your doctor and get a prescription.
All right. So,
but anyway, off that. So yeah, let's get back to the subject
here. So YouTube just ended over there. I don't know what happened to the YouTube side, but it ended a good 4 minutes ago. So I'm not sure what's going on. No, everybody quit talking over there. So.
Oh, I thought you meant they just shut us off.
No, something about unfit, but whatever. So I'm going to suggest we move along to the next topic then. I don't know if there's anything else to talk about, unless there is something else to talk about, dropping off magazines. Nobody said anything about dropping them off at the range. I know that sometimes I'll see them at the range.
Well, I think there's a lot there. Anyway, that's I mean, that's great if you're doing it, but let's try new places. Like you say, the tire shop, the mechanic shop, places like that.
Or people or whatever. What about just leaving them at like bus stops and stuff, or is that basically just throwing in the garbage?
You're just throwing them in the garbage, Jen.
What about Ubering around and leaving it in the Ubers?
And then doing what?
Yeah, if you leave, well, it's like leaving them in a cab or a bus.
Yeah, like leave them behind. Let's see.
Yeah, a bus is good. I mean, how many people leave a newspaper in the bus and one next person gets on and goes, "Oh, a newspaper."
Yeah, that's true.
Only because people go, "Holy crap, they still print these things?"
The newspapers, people would leave them there. Like the bus driver would go tidy up and like pick up a soda cup or a wrapper or something, but he'd leave a newspaper because of what Bob said. Like people just kind of left it there for the next person, so that something to read and leave it there for the next person, kind of thing. I don't know about magazines. I think people probably keep it, right? More than leave it there, but you never know.
Yeah, and that's a newspaper is the kind of thing that maybe like at the end of the day, right? They're going to pick up all that kind of stuff.
Right, exactly.
But what would they do with a magazine? Because they probably still have to go through and clean at the end of the day. Who knows? They might grab it and just like put it up front, so like you walk in and there's like reading material sitting there. Like that's wouldn't that be nice if like the first little corner had like a rack that had reading materials in it that was just open source?
On a bus, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't take up much room, and they do it on like they almost look like towel racks or something, where the magazine just like folds over it. I've seen them for newspapers. You can take up almost no room, and you could have a dozen magazines sitting there. We're talking about magazines for some reason. Something that I'm thinking is how come in all the history of magazines, and they were around for a long time before TV or anything like that, right? So in the whole history of magazines, how come there's never been some sort of like something like a tradition where you can do something to a magazine cover and then people know like this one is meant to just be circulated, like folded in a certain way that like you're disowning it. Like I just wanted to leave this here for whoever's next, and then that fold indicates that no one should just keep this one should just be circulated. I would think that could have happened, and it should have.
I think at one point they did that. They might have done that with newspapers, I think.
Kind of. I think that's maybe where I got the idea, because I think I remember a way like you could place a newspaper down. It was sort of like telling people like, this is a community newspaper, you can have it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I guess
Well, I just want to mention something that's kind of maybe it's not universally accepted, but ripping off like kind of the bottom corner, normally where like an address label would be,
that's a good point.
is kind of a sign of like nobody owns this anymore.
That's a good point.
Right.
Yeah, this is out in circulation.
Right, because I mean, obviously that's a good habit to get into. You don't want your address floating around, especially if it's gun stuff, and be like, oh, this person's really into guns, and here's their address. I'll swing by their house, see if any lights are on. That's not cool.
I don't know. Most criminals would probably go, this guy's got guns. I don't think I'm going to.
Well, they wait till you go on. They wait till you go to work or whatever, right? It only takes a couple days to learn someone's habits, and then you figure out that no one's home at lunchtime or whatever.
And if he does happen to come home, he's going to blow your ass off. I don't know.
Well,
And
yeah,
I think
I would be a terrible criminal because I wouldn't take any of those chances.
the concept that's out there that's generally accepted is anything that's not current is of lower value. Like the saying, well, that's yesterday's news, or that's old news that we just use when we discuss things. That's why we don't keep like yesterday's newspaper, even though if you haven't read it, it's still brand new to you. But it's that concept that I wonder if we have that collectively in our conscious.
That's possible, but I mean, if there's an article about, especially if we're talking guns, right? So like an old, whatever, like World War I machine gun or whatever, like that article can still be interesting information. I actually got gifted to me a whole stack of old magazines, and I took them up north to read because sometimes when it's raining, there's nothing to do. We don't really have TV up there. I mean, we have a DVD player, but that's about it. And anyway, so I started reading through those, and yeah, some of them, when it got into like current issue stuff, some of it was interesting after the fact, reading it going, oh, this is what they were predicting would happen, and they kind of were right, or oh man, they were way wrong. But other stuff, just talking about how something works or reviewing a scope or something, it's like, okay, that's still useful information.
Oh, it's certainly still useful. It's just the public perception of it is, oh, it's it's either very wrinkled or it's tattered, therefore it must be old, or it must be outdated or not current,
or somebody's touched it inappropriately.
All right, well, so that went there, so we might as well keep moving. So want to go right into the third topic or dig into one of our daily things?
Let's do something else, because I think it's time. That's right, it's time. That's right, it's time for the Tactical Pop Quiz. So those of you over on YouTube, and if Gun Channels is working, those of you over there as well, put your cursor down in the text box if you can, limber up your fingers, and get ready for the question. Smeggy, are you available for the assistant today?
Yes, I am. Had to read a paragraph to get the answer, but yes, I am.
All right, yes. Let me move on over. And it is indeed a two-part answer. Both parts must be in the same line. And any close calls will be up to the discretion of Smeggy. So I will hand that over to you.
Oh, thanks. I get all the blame if someone gets mad at me.
Well, no, but I'm saying if something's relatively close, I'll let you make that call. All right, the question is as follows, and I shall read it twice. Who is credited with the design of the first suppressor, and what year was it sold? Who is credited with the design of the first suppressor, and what year was it sold?
Ford created the first suppressor, and 2 was the year it sold. So, yep, 42 is the right answer. Daniel said I get the pick. I'm just kidding, Pants. You didn't win. And Clay, you are wrong. Tony, you are wrong. If only you guys didn't get mad at each other so much. There we go. We got an answer from Ghost. Oh, I didn't realize that was the middle name. Okay, well, I'm giving it to Ghost anyways. It was Maxim in 1902.
Yes, it was
And,
indeed. It was Hiram Maxim selling the first commercially successful models in 1902. So congratulations, Ghost, being today's tactical pop quiz winner.
Yeah, and yeah, Tony put Hiram Piercy, and I'm like, well, that's not it. The right answer is Maxim. So he didn't copy the full name when he typed that in or whatever. But most people aren't called their first and middle name without the last. So anyways, Ghost wins. Good job, buddy. Just ahead of Clover Tech, came in right after ours and Tony. But anyways, that makes you the tactical hot shot of the day.
Congratulations.
That was on the Gun Channel side.
Yep, on the Gun Channel side. Although he's over on YouTube as well, so he's smart enough to know to type on the Gun Channel side because it goes in faster.
All right, and we talked about that the other day, but since we're really not growing much on the Patreon side, we're not going to try to save that money up for anything. We're going to start doing the patches again, so we'll dig into that soon and start letting people know. So hopefully people have been jumping over to the website and letting us know when you win so we could have a placeholder in there for you. And then sometime soon we'll look forward to more of the patch panels and the giveaways and stuff. All right, so go ahead.
I was just going to say, so now what? I was just trying to fill the time.
I don't know. You want to do the movie of the day?
Caps.
So did anybody go watch Taps last night? We talked about it a little bit yesterday, but we try to come up with a gun-related movie every day, something you might not have seen in a while, or if you're a youngin', something you ain't seen yet. So somebody recommended this one, and it's an awesome movie. So it's Taps. It was the first movie for a whole bunch of people when they were kids, and one of the first movies for a whole bunch of other ones. It was one of those movies where there's a whole bunch of actors. It's not about just one or two people. It's about a whole group of people. So it's a military academy, gets closed down, some bullshit happens. They try to take down a statue, Antifa, and then they siege. And then murder gets killed, and the young kids revolt. Anyway, it's pretty good. So I'd highly recommend it. I think I was young when this came out, so to me, it was right about the age I would have been when they were, the age of these kids is the age I would have been. So I'm gonna give it one thumb because I don't know how well it's gonna hold up. I didn't get a chance to watch it overnight. Have you guys seen it before?
Yeah. I saw it when it first came out, and I actually remember it, which is, I don't know which is a bigger shock. But yeah, I remember both George C. Scott and Timothy Hutton being in it.
Yep.
And I agree with you on the one thumb up. It's a good movie, but I wouldn't call it a great movie. But certainly, if you have a chance to see it and you don't have anything else going on, give it a look.
You'd have been as old back when it came out. You would have been as old as the older kids, probably.
Yeah, I was in my first year of college.
Okay, so you would have been just a year older than the oldest kids in that show, and I was probably the age of the middle kids in that show, or the younger kids even. So it's about a bunch of kids that are like in the military junior high, I think. I don't think it's really, is it high school? It could be high school.
It's everything from I think,
Little.
8.
Yeah, I think it's a combination like 6th grade on up.
So Bob, you've seen it then?
Oh yeah, yeah. I really liked it.
Like the
I thought
armor?
it was really good. You know what I remember most about it though is the trailer was one of those ones you watched the trailer and thought it was going to be lots of action, and then it wasn't as much as you thought. I mean, the trailer seemed to put all the action in the trailer.
There's no action, but for a prepper, it's like the ultimate prepper movie, kind of, right? Because like all of a sudden they had to be preppers.
There was a big shootout.
Well, the siege part, I guess. Like all of a sudden they were right to like hold up, and they went into siege mode or whatever.
Yeah, And it was like kids firing full auto weapons and stuff, and that was kind of interesting. Yeah.
Well, they definitely clear the playing field. So it's whatever, sixth grader with an M16 who knows how to use it is an effective.
Oh yeah.
Group.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's-
Sure. Yeah.
I mean,
Well-
just like child soldiers, right?
Yeah. Well, exactly. That's been proven in Africa. You can put a AK in the hands of an 11-year-old, and he's pretty damn effective. But
No.
Smeggy, you said you never saw it?
I didn't say that yet, but that's correct. I did not do my homework today. So I don't know. I guess it's a one thumb average, but I
Well,
haven't seen it.
thumbs, I would give it 2 thumbs up. But
Not give it. I really like the movie a lot, but I'm not going to give it 2 only because it's really old, 1981, and it is about a bunch of kids, so it can't be that good. Here's I think the scene that I remember the most. Remember that one?
yep.
I don't know. It seemed more impressive when you're a little kid. You're like, oh, little kids are standing up to the oppressive parents. Like back then, our movies were about like closing down schools and not dancing. That's the shit that upset us back then.
Pretty much, yeah. You guys were a weird generation, I gotta say.
Like, we were easily offended. Oh, you're gonna shut down our school? Fuck that. Well, we can't dance around cornfield? Fuck that. All right. So that was Taps. I don't know what kind of comments we're getting out there.
And
Nothing. Nobody
some
cares.
Swayze movies.
Let's do the gun of the day. Let's do the gun of the day.
He was a very, very young Tom Cruise. He was one of the older kids in it. No, wait, he was the young, mean kid. So he was like the medium-age kid in it. The Timothy Hutton guy, I think, was the oldest kid, right?
Yeah, I thought it was.
So, anyways, it's like I said, there was a bunch of people in there. It was like either their first or second movie, though, when they were all out.
Yeah, there was like some of the ones that I think what later became the new Rat Pack. There was a bunch of teen actors.
All the Red Dawn people are in there, I think, or they could be.
Yeah, and there's also some kids who I think later were in, some other shows. That, they were kind of the teen stars, or were going to be teen stars, and then they imploded. Yeah, a lot of those kids a lot of those actors didn't really make it anywhere after their short career.
All right. So, what are we doing next?
Let's do the gun of the day. Gun of the day.
Got another one of these oddballs.
This chainsaw.
Not an oddball. It's a Cape gun. It's a Husqvarna 17 Cape gun. So it's a 16 gauge on one barrel, and then it's a 12.7 by 4.4 rimmed on the other. And it's for hunting Cape buffalo and shit, right? Put a slug in one barrel, and then the other barrel's got that big rimmed, half-inch cartridge. And you can shoot big animals with it.
I
But
put a Barna 17 in here, and I keep getting motorcycles and weed eaters. So
yeah, well, they also make those. But you see the rifles that are in there is side-by-side exposed hammer. It looks just like your typical, side-by-side shotgun, but it's like way heavier. It's got this metal, like the fore end isn't wood, it's metal. It's really an odd gun, but quite the cartridge. Like they're showing that cartridge, right? And it's like just wicked powerful for those days. Those black powder, of course.
Man, that just looks kind of weird being a side by side with the two different ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you got 16 gauge and you got,
I'll try and-
0.5 that basically half
So what-
inch.
I'm just saying it looks kind of weird. It looks off balance or whatever, right?
Mhm.
what's the idea? So you go bird hunting, and then in case there's a jaguar,
Well, I mean, that's part of it. You can use it for hunting birds. because it's, you know, a shotgun barrel on the one side. You can also load it with buckshot. So, you know, if you're hunting big game, you've got your big cartridge to hit the game with. And then if it's a Jaguar line that charges you, you've got a charge, either buckshot or a slug, that you can use at close range to drop it.
So as he's charging you, you're going to go from bird shot to buckshot.
No. If you're hunting big game, then you put buckshot or a slug in it, because that's your second shot. But I'm saying if you were just out bird hunting, it would be handy to have that other rifle round in case a Jaguar or something did charge you.
It goes, relieves one of the necessity of carrying two guns. It's thoroughly well made by the best European manufacturer. Blah, blah, blah. Equal to $25 and $30 guns. It's only $17.
Yeah. Good deal, huh?
No, I don't see why that would relieve me of the necessity of carrying two guns, because I ain't taking a 38-55 rifle anywhere I'm taking a 12 gauge. So that was for Europe, I thought, where they could only own like the one gun or something.
No, it was because they would own one gun, but they would use it for, like, I mean, they deer hunted in little tiny 5-acre woods, and their deer are tiny. So they'd have that, and then the other gun was for game. Like, these people like would go out and they'd shoot a deer or they'd shoot birds, you know, depending on what flew up in front of them, because it was their land. They could hunt on their own land, I guess.
Yeah. I'd pay $17.10 for one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now you can pick them up for, you know, $300 or $400.
That was Sears in 1902.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's also when you could buy a house for like $500.
That's true. Out of the Sears catalog.
Yeah. Some assembly required.
Yeah. They have a nice house, though. All right, so that's our rifle of the day, or our gun of the day, and I just think it was a kind of a unique gun. I've always liked the multiple barrel calibers, whether they're over and under or side by sides. Just because they just seem so prepperish, you know. It's like, okay, I got one gun that can shoot deer, and because they still make stuff like that, so yeah, just a really cool old gun. So what else we got up?
I can't find the thing that tells me.
Well, I thought you had the calculator. You just needed to put in 1710.
But that's an inflation. Not the same thing? I guess so. It only goes back to 1914. All right, that's $412 today, ish.
So it would be like a Ruger American.
Yeah, that'd be a fairly expensive gun today, or a medium price gun, right?
Yeah.
All right, so that was interesting. So that's that. So that was that.
Scavarna.
We've got a gun shop here.
This shop. Talking about gun shops, gosh, that sounds like that could be a good reason to put a show on.
Yeah,
talk about a gun shop every day.
So did somebody send this one in? Is that where this one comes from?
I don't know.
Shorty's Shooting Store? Or no, Shorty's Shooting Sports.
Yep. So it's Wisconsin. So I'm guessing somebody from Wisconsin sent this in. And I know we were looking at this earlier. I saw this someplace. We were just talking to the other of Henry's. Somebody must have sent this in. Is this one somebody dropped in the chat the other day? Or one that came in an email?
I didn't move it over from the email, if that's how it came in. I'm not sure how it came in.
Okay, well, I didn't keep talking about it then. Looks like they got concealed carry classes. What's up with this map here? Let's figure out where this place is. Do you know where this place is?
Did it give the name of the city?
Looks like it's outside of Milwaukee.
Oh yeah, that's a suburb of Milwaukee.
So that's where it is, across the lake from Michigan, just north of Chicago. What is this time-wise from Chicago?
Probably take hour and a half to get to the Wisconsin line, and then probably another 45 minutes to get to that store from the state line.
That's quite a drive then. And then you'd have to buy across state line, so it's probably a pain in the ass. So I'm not sure how much Illinois traffic they're getting. Store tour? What's going on here?
What's that thing that says Brazilian music?
What?
Oh, that's an advertisement. Never mind.
Looks like it's in an old city building. Interesting font. They have a kid do it or something. There's not like an About Us page or anything to tell us more about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, looks like an interesting spot, and looks like it's in the middle of town. Do we have any pictures of the inside? I guess not. Just that one.
Yeah, it's strange that they'd have like so few pictures and then have a website.
Yeah, it looks like obviously it's made by this system here. Well, whatever, they're using some kind of format, you know, some kind of a thing, and they just filled it all in. But at least they've got a presence online. And you never know, they go big on Facebook or something, or they're doing it, or maybe on Instagram. Who knows? All right, well, that's our gun shop today. None of us have been there, but if you've been there, let us know about it. And we will throw it into the, well, we already have the show notes. So thanks for that. We try to feature a new one every day. All right.
Yeah, oh, it's a cool shop. And I like the name, Shorty Shooting Sports. It's the SSS.
Okay, Mel is telling us is that the best part about Shorties is that you can hang out and bullshit and wheel and deal, that he will not allow use of cell phones inside. Have you been to shops like that? I mean, not just gun shops, but just stores in general where they will, like, they have a really big policy about cell phones in the store?
No, is that because of the camera or what?
No, I think if it's what I'm thinking of, I've been to a couple of shops in my life where people just hate cell phones and they like won't deal with somebody who stops a conversation to deal with their cell phone or whatever. So I've been to a restaurant before where they have a real strict policy on turning off your cell phones and not talking on the cell phone or fiddling with it. And then I've been into stores like that where the guy's all crotchety, and if you have a cell phone, he'll freak out.
Yeah, I have been to a restaurant that had, you know, please, I forget if it said, please turn your phone either off or down. But it was also a nicer restaurant. It wasn't like a McDonald's. I mean, because if you are paying more money, like to be in a nicer restaurant, you know, usually a lot of times people have a tendency to talk a little bit louder on the phone, rather than somebody who's just, you know, right next to them at the table.
Yeah, but on the other extreme, if you're paying a lot of money for the restaurant, then let you do what you want, right?
Yeah.
Or like, I guess too. I don't know, but the place I went to was one more like a hippie place, and they had it all like with, you know, like little stupid signs somebody drew with a marker and stuck on the wall, but, you know, really being passive aggressive or whatever. Like, we appreciate you not using your cell phone, but then they were like known to be jerks about it when somebody was fiddling with their cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, so again, we like to feature a gun shop every day. So thanks for everybody who's helping with that. Update on the tour, since it's a good time to talk about that. I think we've got, let's see, I am waiting for another email back, and I should, in that email or the reply to it, I should know when they're going to print. So we're getting pretty close to all that. And whenever I know that, then I can start to put into place an itinerary. So stay tuned for some van chatting. where we'll do some strategy on routes and that kind of thing. And then we'll be seeing, literally the show on the road here, and we'll start seeing some of those gun shops. So until then, we do appreciate people that are sending in gun shops for this segment of the show. I guess that'll take us into the third segment. So we're going to talk about training for specific situations or for general purpose defense. So what are we calling specific situations? I would think something like being in a vehicle is a specific situation that's worth training for. It's unique and different than other situations. Maybe being at a desk or something could be similar.
I'd agree with you on the automobile or car or truck or whatever. I think, like simunitions training where you're like, whether it's in a make-believe convenience store or, your a hallway or an alley, parking lot type situation where you don't know how things are going to unfold. So it's all about your reactions and processing the information as the situation unfolds as to what you either should or should not be considering.
Yeah, see, I'm kind of torn on this because I do agree that like training with certain situations can be a useful thing, and especially if it's kind of weird, but like a generic specific situation, like you said, like in a car or like someone right in front of you or someone from behind or so, like that type of stuff. But I think what some people get all wrapped up in is they get in their brain like exactly what's going to happen. Like I'm going to be here and then the bad guy is going to come in over there and I'm going to do this and do that. And if you try and play out too much ahead of time, then if something like you don't learn to think on the fly, your brain just has like a set number of plays, right? Like a football game or something. Like I know the plays, I run to here, I turn around, I catch the ball. And if there happens to be a defender there, then you don't catch the ball, like because you haven't thought of how do I get away from that person. It's the same kind of thing. If you have in your brain, I'm going to do this, then this, then this, no matter what, like in all these different scenarios, that can be detrimental. But to not do any of it just because you're nervous about like, being too set in your ways, I think also hurts you. So I'm kind of in the middle on this one. I don't know exactly what the best approach is.
Part of that is that responsibility to literally keep you on your toes mentally is the responsibility of both you and the person providing the training, that they're not giving you cookie cutter situations. That you can take the same situation and it can go 3 different ways with the exact same people involved.
Oh, try 300 different ways.
Well, I'm just referring to where there's no need to draw your holster at all, or a holster, or drawing your holster may be warranted, and then maybe drawing your holster and firing may be warranted. It's just because drawing your holster is warranted doesn't mean it's necessarily at that last half second, shoot, don't shoot, may not be clear just yet, but it's about to be.
Well, I guess. Let's just, I don't know. What should be
but I do understand the danger of a cookie cutter situation. I agree with you on that, Smeg. That can be a real dangerous thing.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. You see that a lot. People talking online of like, someone brings something up or maybe even something is like in the news. Person's like, well, I would just do this. And it's like, oh, okay, you're the expert now. Like I kind of agree with thinking ahead, but some people just get they think they have the solution to everything. And it's like their brain only knows to pull, okay, do if A, then B, and that's it. and not like if something crazy happens, think about what to do.
Yeah, and I wonder if, whether somebody who's literally just thought about it through on their own and not bounce those ideas off of anybody, as well as somebody who's received, I'm going to call it, inadequate or poor training in regards to scenarios, are both going to be stuck into that cookie cutter situation. Because if you're just thinking about it to yourself about, oh, I would do this and then I would do that, you're still stuck into a cookie cutter solution. It's just you've created it yourself.
I think when we're talking about any skill set, doesn't matter what it is, if it's using a firearm or if it's reacting to an adversary in a fight, or if it's just doing computer work or automotive work, whatever it happens to be, whatever the skill set is, you gain insight and experience and knowledge through time, right? Through experience. So I think that if you got a challenge, you got a danger of learning one thing only, right? And then thinking you know it all because you've learned the one approach or something, and that you might be an expert at that one approach, but that only teaches you that one thing. So maybe an expert in one type of car, or playing one type of guitar or something, or one type of music, or one type of thing. But then somebody that goes in and does just a little sample of everything, they're definitely not an expert. They might be very familiar with a lot and have some amount of knowledge, but not an expert. Jack of all trades, master of none type of thing. So I think that's your dilemma. So I think the best thing you can do is be a student for whatever amount of time. You got to look at it for like a length of time. You're not just going to go to a class, let's say, and that's it. You figure you're going to go to a class once a year for a few years, and then maybe that works into your budget or your just personal schedule or whatever. But then that way you can say, okay, if I'm going to be going to learn new things once a year or every 6 months or every 4 months or whatever it turns out to be, then in between times you want to keep your proficiency active or current or whatever you want to say. So you want to be constantly practicing in that time, or at least practicing even more than you might normally, so that you're pliable, right? So that when you go to these different classes, you're actually adding to your toolbox and not just replacing your toolbox, so that way you're truly incorporating whatever different aspects of these different things you might bring, whatever kind of skill set it is, like I say. And then I think once you've gained whatever amount you wanted to, different classes or different kind of training, then you've accomplished whatever you wanted. And now it's like everything's gone together, enmeshed together, and you can use it all, as opposed to getting a bunch of one and then just sitting there, and then getting a bunch of another and having it sit there, and then getting a bunch of a third. And the best you can do is compare them. You know what I mean? If you're constantly practicing and then you bring in that second, you practice the both, and then you bring in a third and you practice them all for a bit, you've experienced it. You've immersed yourself in all of them, in the actual combinations of them.
Good point.
That's my point.
So I think from that, what's happening tonight in gun channels? Anything?
No,
Nothing?
No, I was just reading the comments out there. So on the gun channel side, Robbie's saying skills also degrade, and that's true. And that's why, let's say, if you're going to be training, I think you need to give your training the best chance to stick by getting yourself ready, getting yourself physically ready, and then practicing your old skills as you go in to develop some new ones, so that you're in that mode of learning, of being a student. Somebody's saying the real world is the instructor is to get you started with the basics, and the curriculum is the same for all students, and it's up to you to further that. Yep, definitely, it's always on the student. Of course.
Although some instructors can be better than others as far as helping people achieve that.
Well, I was going to say, if there's an instructor that doesn't do what the student feels is adequate, then you should boycott the instructor. It's always the best things to boycott. Always the best course of action. All right, with that, I think Bob was saying something about what's on gun channels tonight. Tonight's Thursday, so it's really hard to keep track of. But is
Clover Tech should do a thing, doesn't he?
No, he's last though. I was gonna say is well, let's see. Is this Yankees week? This might be Yankees week, so we got Yankee. I'm not sure if Ghost has a show tonight, or was that yesterday? Ghost was.
No, he does. Ghost does on Tuesday, Tactical
No.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
He doesn't do tonight. So then we got Tac Daddy does his whatever he's calling Gun News Weekly now, and then I think Yankee has a show tonight. Matt sometimes has a Patreon show on Thursdays where he goes live on Patreon, I think. And then Clover does like the wrap up of all the shows, like the late night show on Thursdays. But was Smeggy even here for that earlier?
No, I see his comment now, and I guess when I saw them talking earlier, I thought he just got.
How can Clover Tech do a show tonight when he's been blacklisted from YouTube?
Yeah, he just said that on YouTube, apparently.
So, you know what's even more devastating? I mean, the fact that he got shut down is depressing. But the fact that they did it on Waffle Day, so he's trying to mind his business and celebrate Waffle Day like a regular American, and then YouTube pulls this business.
Now, is Waffle Day, is that related to Pancake Day, or is it just a separate crap? Is it a separate, like, fried good day? What?
Well, number one, I don't think a waffle is fried. Is it fried? I guess it could be
Fried butter.
But no, I don't know if there is a Pancake Day. It's possible that breakfast food has its own day. I just don't know about it. But I just happen to know that Connery was saying today's Waffle Day. So when I was listening to the show earlier, so that means I know it's Waffle Day and I like waffles. So bringing it out there.
Well, maybe it's because YouTube is waffling on their terms of service.
Dano made a pun.
Let's see.
Or not.
So Tony said that Clover could let YouTube know that he's transitioning, and then they will unban him. That's a good point.
Oh, in transition. Is that like a
That'd work.
self-identifying thing?
He's having trouble identifying, and they're not making it any easier. So I would imagine quickly bring his channel back from that.
You know, my gun channel identifies as a makeup tutorial.
Yeah, my gun channel identifies as one that complies to your version of the terms of service.
Yeah, my gun channel identifies as an attack helicopter, so there.
All right. So another people are trying to offer suggestions such as boycott YouTube. We never want to boycott YouTube, so let's keep that clear. Otherwise, they're saying things like someone could donate their channel to Clover for a bit. Well, yeah, but the problem is his audience is going to his channel. So yeah, somebody else I'm sure will host for him. But it's just a kick in the nuts. Did anybody see that video yesterday where that dude kicked the tear gas back to the cops and then they launched a tear gas into his nuts? Except that Clover didn't even kick no tear gas. He was just standing there literally minding his own business, trying to educate a child. He stands up feeling like he's accomplished something.
Dude, pepper balls in the nuts.
YouTube right in his nuts. Tony is saying every day is Pancake Day for Bob, so that's probably true. Except it's toast. Bob makes a big deal out of how he eats toast all the time. I've never actually seen Bob eat a pancake. Now that I'm thinking about it. Or no, wait. No, you ate a pancake one time, I think. Bob put syrup down and then floats a pancake in it, and then eats it that way. I haven't seen Bobby.
Well, it's better that way. It's got more nutrients. Syrup is
Thought
like
about it.
important nutrients.
They probably do consider pancake the accessory food to the syrup meal, the syrup course,
Oh, you know,
garnish to the syrup plate.
you have to be able to taste the syrup on the pancakes, and that sometimes means you reapply the syrup several times.
All right, so I think we have accomplished all of that. I think we talked about everything that's happening on Gun Channels tonight. Tomorrow is early watch on Fridays, so Jimmy James will be doing an extended show. I think it starts at 11 a.m. or something on the East Coast. It runs all the way up till 7 p.m. when we do this show. That's right, all that many hours, like 8 hours. That's a crazy long show. It's way better than listening to the radio. It's way better than whatever else you do when you're at work, because this is interactive. You can hear what's going on. You can read what's going on. So even if you have to turn your volume down because your boss is a jerk, then you can read what's going on and pretty much keep track of what's happening and all the hilarity and knowledge. Also, how are you even going to know who to boycott? Like with the crazy world today, certain people you're supposed to boycott, certain people you're not supposed to boycott. How do you keep track of all that? Gun Channels, specifically the early shows. So that's a service you get out of it that you can't even pay for that. But if you wanted to, they all have Patreon accounts. They're all on VidMe. So as we transition from the YouTube, everybody can start checking out VidMe.
Never heard of it.
It's a new thing. It happened last week while you were gone.
Well, I mean, in all seriousness, I do think it would be a good thing to at least grab your channel name, even if you don't do anything with it.
Well, I'd say go play with VidMe. It's super easy platform to deal with. At this point, it's fairly new-ish, so you can be some of the first, whatever it is that you do with your channel, you'll be some of the first over there. It's fairly simple to deal with, to use, and to operate, and it literally could not be easier to migrate your channel from YouTube over to it. You just drag and drop your video link and then set it to whatever day you want to have that video go live. So in other words, you've got already an inventory, an archive of videos over on YouTube or someplace else, doesn't matter where they are, but most people have them on YouTube. Then you just go over to that vid.me. So its domain suffix is ME. I don't know what that is. What country that is that? I have no idea. So video, or it's vid.me. And then you create the account, like Dano said, so that you snagged your own username over there. And then you could sit down and take 30 of your existing videos on YouTube and have them post once, one of them each day for the next 30 days and give it an effective test with almost no effort at all. It'll take you like half an hour to do that. So I'd say it's worth it. There's some way, I guess, you can tip people specifically. So let's say you like somebody's content, you can just give them a tip right there. And I guess that's cheaper than going through like a Patreon and a PayPal. I don't know if it's any cheaper because there's probably still going to be 2 levels, but at least it makes it a little bit easier for the viewer.
Well, that's always good to make it easier for the person who's, donating. You want to make that as easy as possible.
Well, I think we should probably end it, but I also don't want to do a disservice to Clover. So if you're going to figure out what you're going to do tonight, we'll be happy to relay it to everybody. And if you need any assistance from any of us, let us know. And I'll be happy to volunteer Dano or Smeggy's time this evening if you need it.
Yeah, definitely. You can hijack my channel or whatever. But again, that's I was just trying to figure out. It's basically he just can't do live stuff on his channel. So at least he could like record a video saying, "Hey, everybody, like tune in over here, like over on the gun channels or whatever." And then whose ever actual channel it is that the video's embedded, at least his audience will still see it.
Yes.
And be able to interact and stuff.
This is a temporary situation that would work.
Yeah, but if he's banned for 90 days, that's pretty temporary.
Well, yeah.
That's 3 months down.
Right, but assuming that the assumption is that 90 doesn't turn into something else down the road.
That's a quarter of a year, dude.
Right.
That's, you know, half of a hamster's life.
When you think about it, that's a long time for a YouTube channel that's trying to create content. Yeah, that's enough.
Yeah.
So Clover did say he's going to hijack the lobby tonight at 11 p.m. Eastern. So stay tuned for the Clover Tech show over there. So thanks. That's good to know. So we can let people know. I think that's it. I think we's done.
All right.
Yep.
If we's done, we're going to end this with our quote. So this one today is by Mitchell Pritchard.
Like, share, subscribe, thumbs up.
Good job.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. So as I was going to say, please like, share, and subscribe.
Oh, he already did it for you.
Patreon. Shut up, you. Fuck. Now to keep this child.
See, the problem with Bob's brain is if he gets interrupted doing something, it resets back to 0. He has to start all over again.
This is the quote. And I'd just like to thank everybody for watching and listening. You don't stop laughing because you're old. You grow old because you stop laughing. Again, Mitchell Pritchard. And thanks so much for watching, you guys. And just ignore the other two dorks. And we'll talk to y'all tomorrow.
The guys and gals of GunWebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching GunWebsites.com.